Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Just going to give you a quick update. We're starting in 2 minutes.
I'm Ben Wickler with MoveOn.org. And we're just going to jump right into this. We are here today to what? Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. All right. So we know this bill will result in a tax increase for 47 million people. It gives the average person at the top an average tax cut of $280,000. And we found out just last night in a new version of the bill released in the Senate that it'll lead to 13 million more people uninsured, premiums going up 10%. And that's because as part of this tax scam, Republicans have decided to repeal part of the ACA too. All right. So we know this is a fight for everybody. This is not just a fight over taxes. This is a fight for everyone. Teachers hurt by this bill. Veterans hurt by this bill. Students hurt by this bill. People with disabilities hurt by this bill. I could go on and on. You're going to hear a lot more about this terrible tax scam from all of our speakers today. But right now I'm going to turn it over to my friend Ben. He's certainly no stranger to Capitol Hill rallies. So Ben, say hi.
Hello. So just in case they didn't notice what happened in Virginia, I wonder if you could join me in sending a message to the folks in this building. When you come for our health care, we come for your jobs. When you come for our health care, we come for your jobs. When you come for our health care, we come for your jobs. When you come for our health care, we come for your jobs. And why is it that they want to cut health care from 13 million people? It's to save a few $100 billion. Now, their plan is to cut taxes for corporations from 35% to 20%. If they went 35% to 23%, they wouldn't need to kick 13 million people off of health care. So our message is not one penny. 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 Not one penny for billionaires, for millionaires, and for wealthy corporations. They should be paying their fair share. Not paying nothing or next to nothing. We saw over the last week, they've been dodging taxes left and right, hiding their money in tax shelters. They are already getting away with murder. Now the Republicans want them to get away with mass murder. And we are saying no.
Ben, I don't think I could say it any better than you just did. So let's just get started with our first speaker here today. He's a senator from Oregon. I think people know him well. He's also on the budget committee. He's here to tell us not one penny. Senator Jeff Merkley.
Woo! Hey, greetings, everybody. Are you ready to stop this bank heist? Because this is a bank heist. This is the most audacious bank heist in U.S. history. They're not trying to steal a few $1 million from the American people, not a few $1 billion. They're trying to steal trillions of dollars. Are we going to let them get away with this bank heist? No. Now, I want to know, in what universe does it make sense to give more than $3 trillion to the richest 1% of Americans? Where is that universe? If we're going to spend $3 trillion, how about we spend it strengthening public education? How about we spend it making college debt-free? How about we build infrastructure across this country? How about we create millions of living wage jobs? But no, that's not what's being proposed by the Republicans. Instead, they want to raid the national treasury, put us in debt, cut other programs, all in order to help the very richest Americans. Now, is anyone here think that they are going to be benefited by getting rid of the alternative minimum tax? No. Anyone here going to be helped by lowering the tax bracket for the very richest? No. How about the dynasty loophole being expanded so the richest can pass on their vast wealth tax-free? You mean you're not going to be helped by this Republican plan? And in fact, many of the middle class are going to be hurt. Oh, what brilliant person decided to say, hey, let's take away the deductibility of interest on student loans? I say let's make student loans more deductible. Let's make them lower interest rates. How about if we make the opportunity to refinance every single student loan to the same low interest rate the big banks get when they borrow from the federal government? So we are fighting for the people. Now, in our Constitution is enshrined this envision, we the people. We the people. Beautiful, beautiful vision. Government of, by, and for the people. But this tax bill is the opposite. This is about some form of government that is government of, by, and for the privileged and the powerful. Are we for the people? Yes. Are we going to fight against this bill? Yes. Then we also have to take out these diabolical effort to destroy health care. Now, we've had this Trump care zombie come back time and time again, trying to rip health care from 20 million Americans, or 22 million Americans, or 32 million Americans. How about instead of ripping health care away from 20 or 30 or 13 million Americans, how about if we create a simple, seamless health care system so that every family has health care when they need it and they don't go bankrupt in the process? I think instead of this bill, we should have Medicare for all. But that. And if you're going to spend $3 trillion, we can do that right now. So let's fight for the we the people vision, and let's stop this diabolical bank heist. Thank you all very much.
All right, I'd like to ask this side to say protect our health care and this side to respond kill the bill. Can we do it? Protect our health care. Protect our health care. Kill the bill. Protect our health care. Protect our health care. Louder. Kill the bill. Protect our health care. Kill the bill. Protect our health care. Kill the bill. One more. Protect our health care. Kill the bill. This bill. First of all, the House might claim they're not shredding our health care with their version of the plan, although it would spark an immediate $25 billion cut to Medicare. But putting that aside, but they're just going to pass what the Senate passes because they want to do this as fast as possible before we stop them. So don't let them even try to get away with that. And what is the Senate plan? They say they're repealing the individual mandate. Well, what'll that do? If there's not the requirement that people buy health care, as Mitt Romney knows from Massachusetts, then people who feel healthy and fine and are short on money, they might not buy their health insurance. That means that only sicker people buy health insurance, which means that the cost of premiums goes up. 10% the first year, 10% the second year, extra, beyond what's already going to happen. One estimate is that if you take a 7% rate of increase, which is expected, you add an additional 10% every year, then a $500 premium now would cost $2,400 plus 10 years from now. Totally unaffordable for most people. And that's why 13 million people would not be able to afford their health insurance coverage. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. I'd like to welcome to the stage someone who has led the fight against these disastrous repeal plans and the fight against these disastrous tax heists, Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Ben. Thank you, Ben, very much. Thank you all. Here we are at this moment of truth for our country, where the Republicans are trying to transform our country into a plutocracy, a government of the wealthy and the powerful, at the expense of the American people. We can't let that happen. This tax proposal is immoral and increases the deficit, so it doesn't even have a justification. It's a tax bill that is predicated on a budget that would take $1 trillion from Medicaid, $500 billion from Medicare. The list of disgraceful cuts goes on and on. And why? To give tax breaks to the corporations in America, enabling them to send jobs overseas. And by the way, while people lose their SALT, their state and local tax deduction, individuals, corporations do not. It's no wonder that Gary Cohn has said those who are the most excited about this tax plan are the big CEOs, corporate CEOs. He did speak truth in that regard. And why are they so happy? Because that $1.5 trillion cuts in Medicare and Medicaid, that one, up to $1.5 trillion goes directly to our tax cut for corporations. They said they can't live without the tax code going down to 20%. So all of these people, what do they think about our country? They pledge allegiance to the flag. They support our troops, but they don't want to pay for our national security. They don't want to pay for the education of our children. They don't want to pay for the court system. They don't want to pay for transportation. They just want to have a tax break. And by the way, there are none of them paying 20% now, or even the 35% for sure. So thank you. Thank you for being out here. One of the most salient of many with stiff competition for horrors in this bill is the elimination of the medical tax deduction. The public understands that very clearly, whether they have a child with a disability or a senior with Alzheimer's and everything in between. We cannot let them do this. And
that situation. So here I find myself 4 decades later in Congress working with Jackie Spear, who had a similar experience when we were on staff together. I had not received any training about how to handle this incident and was completely unprepared to address it. In fact, sadly, I did not even tell anyone for almost 40 years until last year when we started this discussion after the very brave young woman, Emily Doe, out in the Stanford University case, and members started coming forward sharing their own stories with each other. And I just want to give a shout out to the Me Too campaign online and just the difference that that has made in the environment. We're seeing extraordinary social change over the last month. And I, for one, believe that this kind of education and prevention will help us stop sexual violence in the workplace, in the military, on our college campuses, and most importantly for us and for many people working here right here on Capitol Hill. Sadly, sexual violence and harassment are all too common on Capitol Hill, and this violence creates a hostile work environment that inhibits Congress from properly serving the American people. This legislation ensures that everyone working on Capitol Hill, from the new interns, the most junior staffers, to members of Congress ourselves, will receive practices for sexual violence prevention and education. Ignorance will no longer be an excuse for this sort of behavior. As I said to one of my colleagues yesterday, everyone is on notice now. No one has any excuse. This bill reforms the administrative process for investigating and resolving the complaints, and most importantly, it empowers the survivors with the knowledge that their complaint will be administered fairly. And I want to specifically make a note that there is a procedure for anonymous reporting for purposes of accessing counseling for the survivor. I think something that's been lost in this debate over the last 4 decades is that for many people, they may choose not to name the perpetrator, but they may simply need to process and get results and resources for their own recovery. And I think that's important, and we should have a process for that to happen. Over the past few months, hundreds of thousands of Americans have shared their experience with sexual violence and harassment through the Me Too campaign, and our offices are hearing stories every day. Their stories demonstrate what research and the stories of countless women have already shown to be true. Sexual harassment is an epidemic in our country, and unless we take efforts to stop it, it will continue to impact people's lives every single day. Their careers will be thwarted, their lives will be impacted, their personal relationships will be impacted, and the fact is, this is not okay. The bipartisan Me Too Congress Act provides that we take this issue seriously, and it's just the beginning of our work on sexual violence. We do, as Representative Spear mentioned, have a bipartisan task force to end sexual violence, bipartisan co-chairs, and if you'd like further information, be happy to see Will Pisano in the back. Thank you.
And finally, Congressman Bruce Poliquin, who has been an enthusiastic supporter of both the Cease resolution and the Me Too Congress Act.
I want to extend a big congratulations and a thank you to Jackie, for Congresswoman Spear, for heading up this effort. This is something that needs to be done. It's very clear, and I'm sure it takes a lot of courage to step up the way Jackie and Annie have both done. So I want to thank them very, very much. And you know, you look at Congress here, you look at the halls of Congress, we're all walking these halls every day, and a lot of these staffers are very young. And Ryan mentioned that, some of the other folks did. And those of us who have been blessed with kids, Jackie and I were just talking before we came on, we have kids about the same age. I'll tell you, we always worry about our kids, always, at all times of their lives, including during the early parts of their career. The last thing that we should have to worry about, frankly, is them being harassed in the workplace. There is absolutely no place for this in America. I don't care if you're in the media. I don't care if you're in the entertainment business. I don't care if you're a professional athlete. I don't care if you're running a company. I don't care if you're a member of Congress. There is zero place for this in our society. So I salute everybody jumping on board for this. And you know, the executive branch already has protocols in place and a way to deal with this issue. It's about time the legislative branch does also. We need to make sure that everybody who comes to work feels safe coming to work, so they can do their job. And in this case, they can serve the American people. And this is a bipartisan effort. We have men here, we have women here, we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have the Senate, and we have the House. So we got a lot of work to do, but the first way to stop this, the best way to solve any problem is to first bring awareness to that problem. And that's exactly what we're doing. And I salute Jackie again for doing this great work. And I am thrilled to join her and everybody else to fix this problem. Thank you.
All right. We have a glitch here. Evidently, we cannot have persons outside the building participate in a press conference in this room. We have one more speaker. Her name is Maya Raghu, who's the Director of Workplace Equality at the National Women's Law Center. She's a very important speaker. We will address a few questions here, and then we're going to take this outside so that you can hear from her. Yes.
The $15 million figure, can you help us understand who actually approves those settlements and which members of Congress are actually privy to the information about those settlements? And secondly, on the two members of Congress that you mentioned yesterday at the hearing who you said have been accused of sexual harassment, do you personally know who those members are? And in general, do you think that these members who are being accused of this behavior should be named?
So to answer your first question, the Office of Compliance has provided us with that information about the more than $15 million and the 260 settlements. Those settlements, my understanding is, have to be approved by the House Administration Committee, and the House General Counsel, after representing the harasser, then has to change hats and go before the House Administration Committee and make the case for the settlement. So, in my view, a gross conflict of interest as well. As to the second, we are here to protect victims. That's why we have contemplated this wholesale change and reform of the Office of Compliance, and it's the victims who want to be protected, and we will protect them. Yes.
Congresswoman, I wanted to ask you again, just following on that transparency question. In the new bill, you will list members' offices in the settlement. How hard do you think it's going to be to convince fellow members to support that particular provision? Because that might be something that people might balk at.
Well, no one should balk at it, because there shouldn't be an office in the Capitol that is engaged in this kind of conduct. And if you are engaged in this kind of conduct, or you're allowing this kind of conduct to go on unabated in your office, then you should be called out.
And I just want to take exception. I don't think anyone will object to that because it impacts all of us. We want to hold up the highest standard for members of Congress and for a workplace that's free from this type of discrimination. And frankly, our constituents expect that of us. So I think we want all members of Congress to comply, just as we do with the mandatory ethics training and other issues that have already, we've had sweeping reform. We want that type of reform here. So I beg to differ with you that people will object to that.
And I would just add, the other piece of this is, and I say this to folks fairly often, we're employers. We have an obligation through our chief of staff, through our deputy chief of staff, to have an HR department or component to our job. So how we would process that, how we would handle an employee if they were mistreated or they did raise a concern, speaks to the character and integrity of how we operate our offices. So I think I understand the direction or orientation of your question, but I would sort of just shine a light on the aspect of us making sure that we respect our staff enough to make sure that if they do have an issue, that we do confront it and that we have clear standards in place so that it is addressed properly. And I think all of our constituents will want to know that we take that obligation seriously, and through the mandatory training, there is no excuse not to handle these, a complaint, if it were to arise, in a professional, responsible manner. And so that would be the other piece I'd like to add to Congresswoman Custer's answer.
All right. Yes, next question.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, Eric Garcia, roll call. You mentioned yesterday, obviously, the 15 million figure. Is there any possible way that this money, that the funds from the money could change because of the fact that this does, correct me if I'm wrong, come from taxpayer dollars? Would that at all change under this legislation, or would there be any plans to change that?
Well, under the legislation, it would require that if, in fact, a member is responsible for the settlement, that they would be responsible for repaying the U.S. Treasury for that sum of money. Personally, out of their personal funds, yes.
Hi, Marissa Schultz, New York Post. Thanks for doing this press conference. The two members that you mentioned yesterday, one Republican, one Democrat, have you approached them about this, and are you confident that they are not hurting people currently?
I have not approached them.
And
Yes.
why haven't you?
It's not my role to approach them.
And what is the hesitation about naming them if they are known sexual harassers? Are you concerned that they're currently doing the same thing?
I am here to protect the victims. We're all here to protect the victims. And the victims are the ones who do not want this exposed. Yes. Yes.
Congresswoman, when you look at that flow chart there, that is a daunting
Yes.
procedure. And it seems designed to discourage someone to go down that path. We're talking about 230, 260 settlements here. How large over that do you estimate the actual number is, if we're just talking about the settlements?
Well, I should also clarify, these are settlements for sexual harassment, racial discrimination, and other forms of disability discrimination, other forms of discrimination. This was created in 1995 after the Packwood scandals to show that Congress was, quote, doing something. And as you can see, this was an effort to discourage victims from coming forward. And that's why it has to be changed. Anyone else want to say something on that?
Follow up on the disclosure and what your bill would do. In terms of the public disclosure, that would apply to all claims, right, including race and age, not just sexual harassment?
The bill only refers to sexual harassment. No, it does refer to all of them. I'm being helped in the back of the room there. Yes, it refers to all.
A lot of the complaints that have been paid out are not sexual harassment based, they're race or age.
That's what I said, yes. Some of.
In terms of the payout, would taxpayers still be liable if the polling office, it was a staffer? Because one of the things at the House administration hearing that the counsel's office testified to is that most of these complaints involve staff on staff. So would a staffer have to pay out of their own
No, it's just the lawmaker. All right, we're going to take this outside.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Great job, Jackie. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.